Marketing new products. Okay, I'll take you through 4 or 5 key points. First one is no sale, no business. You don't sell anything, you haven't got a business. So absolutely crucial issue is how to go about selling things. The second one is that I started off in life, as many people do, thinking that the best product would win. It's like the best person would win, rise to the top. But it doesn't always happen because usually you find that the best product in the world is probably in reality number 5, not number 1. Number 1 is probably sitting in someone's drawer somewhere. Why is it sitting in someone's drawer? Well, probably because it hasn't been packaged properly, promoted properly, or distributed properly. Or is it the wrong price? So if you haven't got that formula right, you're going nowhere, and the idea that just because you think it's good, it's going to win, it's really got nothing much to do with it. So that's a hurdle that's got to be climbed over. Point number 3 is a personal one, in that I used to be a product manager, plastics for a company, new product development, and I had the experience many times, which I learned from, is that you'd go to another state, local rep meet you, and he'd take you to a client who he hadn't managed to sort of get to first base properly with, on the basis that you'd be able to swing the thing. And you go up to the door or the foyer, and a guy come out with a sort of frowned expression, and more or less is like, what do you want, but I've got 1,000 other things to do apart from talk to you. And he more or less wound up with this sort of horrible feeling about having a door closed in your face. And then, you go back to head office and you think, well, now how can I do this a bit better? And the way you do it better, and we found just very simple, is that you've got to start to focus on what sort of unique feature benefits have you got that are going to get doors to open for you, that are going to give you some fuel for what we call your elevator pitch, which we talk elsewhere in this series about, is that you need to be able, within 30, 60 seconds, to be able to give people a series of feature benefits that are going to make this person's or their customer's life just that much better. Better performance, maybe better cost performance benefits, things that it will do that the opposition doesn't do. The thing I learned from that is that you sort of go back to square one and think carefully about your pitch and carefully about the things that would really pull a string for someone and get them interested. And so after that, then we go back to potential clients, and the reception sorts of changes when you can say within 40 seconds, look, here are the reasons why our product's going to do a better job here, why it's going to make your customers a damn sight happier, and here are all the features that it can do that the competition can't do. And all of a sudden, sort of doors open, and cups of tea come out, and coffee, and would you like a biscuit as well, and no one's in a great hurry to shuffle you out the door. And life's just so much better. And it's that sort of approach that allowed us to double, treble, and quadruple our sales by having features in the products that got people excited. So there's a big message there. Now, next one that you need to focus on is the profile of the customer. With time, you realise just how important this is. That is, what's the profile of your average customer? what sort of age are they, what sort of sex are they, what sort of interests have they got, where do you find them. The benefits of having this allow you to narrow your focus to the features that will appeal to that particular group. It also allows you to work out the motivation of that group. You start to figure out the sorts of things that are really going to get you some traction there. Now, I'll give you an example. I mean, if you've got a woman who's, let's supposing your profile average customer is a woman who's 45 and you say, okay, well, that's interesting. We better make sure that the writing on this pack, which is in sub-micron size, it's bloody difficult to read, is slightly bigger because it's hard enough to get people to read things anyway. But once people are getting on a little bit, their eyesight's normally not that wonderful. So this is a terribly common issue. But there's miles of things like that, because once you know who your average customer is, suddenly you can start to focus on, well, we know that particular group wouldn't like this and wouldn't like that, and these sorts of things would appeal to them. The next thing that we lead on to, which is a good tip for people to focus on, is what's the who is the person who makes the buy decision here? Now, identifying who the actual person who makes the decision is crucial. Sometimes it's very clear-cut. It's not a big deal at all. But other times it's a little bit different than who you thought it was. I mean, I'll give you a little example, and this is not necessarily that best example, but let's supposing we've got kids' underpants. Who buys the underpants for your 9-year-old child? Well, it's probably not your 9-year-old child. It's probably your wife who buys the underpants. And in fact, it's probably the wife who buys the underpants for a 40-year-old husband. Think about it. In the child's case, the child, he or she, may influence mum by saying, well, I like the ones with the Donald Duck logo on them. But this style of thinking is quite important, is that sometimes the person that makes the decision is not the actual person who's going to use the product. So you can get tripped up on it. Be aware, be very wary of that. Next issue I'd like to talk about is the price. And in marketing a product, you need to know where the sweet spot for the price is. You need to know what the middle range, Me Too sort of price is for that product group. And then you need to weigh very carefully, and I mean very carefully, what your hopefully if you've got it, your unique selling proposition, your difference between you and the rest of the crowd, is going to allow you to get as a premium here. Now, sometimes people get a bit swept away with themselves and ask an awesome premium because our thing will do this, that and something else. Well, that's wonderful. But will people be prepared to pay what you think they should to get that extra feature? I came from a background where I had it drummed into me about getting a product premium and really sweating on this issue. And there's a difference between profitable companies and companies that make bugger all. So it's an important thing to sort of take on board. Not being too greedy, but making sure you get a premium if you've got the features that justify it. The other factor from a sales end you need to be aware of that, the average, for example, retail product, the difference between the producer and the customer is about a 3 times ratio. So, a dollar winds up $3 by the time the distributors put their margin on and retailers put their margin on. Now, sometimes that gets up to 5 to 1 if there's a lot of promotion involved. But the general point is that you need to be conscious of this sort of markup regime, and often salespeople need to put the pressure back on design people, development people, to give good, accurate feedback of what price you can realistically get, not giving it away, but in consideration of your feature benefits, what the realistic sweet spot is, and then try and get people to sweat on, well, if we can't get there, what sort of alterations to the product processing, whatever, can we make in order to get ourselves in that sweet spot. We don't need to get down to an absolute minute fraction of a cent here, but most people know what I'm talking about. It's that general range where you need to know if you're going to be way above it, it's not going to happen. Now, the next issue is for new product developers and for sort of one man or woman bands who are starting off in this sort of thing especially, is the whole issue of the costs of distribution. So if you're trying to be a one product company and go and sell one product, this can be a very hard deal, basically because you've got a difference between you and potentially your opposition, namely someone who may be selling a bag of products where they've got 20 products in their bag, in inverted commas, and they go and call on someone, and if they don't sell one product, they've still got the other 19 to go. So their costs of contribution are divided over 20 products in their bag, not one. So that's, basically the core reason why you wind up seeking distributors. Unless you can do a few big deals with two or three, a small number of people, which usually is not always easy. But sometimes it happens with some products, but not too many. So if the whole concept of selling and distributing is proving too much for you, and I'm again talking to the one product companies here, then the other option you've got is the royalty deal, where you say, right, I've developed this product. Typically we have people come to us and we'll design the product and sort out the details and produce sets of drawings and look at the issue of protection, and then go to manufacturers and with a view to subbing out the various bits and things that have got to be made, and look at the packaging and other odds and ends, and we can from those numbers work out what the product's going to cost, what the tooling is involved, what sort of packaging's involved, what it's going to look like. We'll mock it up, and so more as you can see the end result like the real thing, even though we haven't made a single item yet. Now, it's all that information we put together in a pitch, which is designed to sell the concept to a range of people we'll suss out as being in that market area and potentially interested in that style of product. And in this case, we're looking for a royalty deal, so you get paid a royalty on whatever's, and we work out some sort of agreement whereby, and it's not always that simple, but whereby you're going to have a royalty and some sort of set of parameters to drive sales forward, but so you don't get involved in all the other issues we were talking about, that someone else sort of push that wheelbarrow. So summarising here, we've got basically today we have people with too many choices and with bugger all time. They just don't have time. So unless you've got a point of difference in your product, it's very hard. That is some sort of unique selling proposition. It's not easy to push your way into the marketplace. So basically you need to start to juggle things as we've suggested, to try and get your show on the road. Hope those few comments have been helpful.